no matter what you do, you're not wrong. Nothing is wrong. You're at the perfect place right now, even if it feels like it's not, even if it feels like, oh my God, this is the worst place I've been in. Like, I feel so stuck. I feel miserable. Everything is good. By you feeling that way and you feeling stuck, that's good because that's showing you that you're ready for something new.
Hola, hola, and welcome back to the Ambitious Women of Color podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Lynn Rojas. Today, we're talking about what happens when you realize you outgrown a career, a relationship, or a version of your life that once made sense, and how to trust yourself enough to make changes without blowing everything up. My guest is Candelaria González, a Latina life coach who supports first-gen Latinas in their 30s who feel stuck doing what they should instead of what they actually want. In this episode, we unpack why feeling stuck isn't a failure, it's information, how inner peace becomes a strategy, not a luxury, and what it really looks like to let go of control while still moving forward. If you've been going through the motions and quietly asking yourself, is this it? This episode's for you. Let's get into it. Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I have Cande here today with me. Hi, Cande, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm excited for us to finally have this. For everyone that doesn't know, Cande is my business bestie, and we have like weekly chats for the past like
Mhm.
year and a half now, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to have her on the podcast because I feel like a lot of her work will really be helpful and resonate with a lot of women. I want to start with the podcast signature question. So, Cande, what is one thing you refuse to sacrifice for your career?
One thing that I refuse to sacrifice for my career is my inner peace. I just want to feel like my life is flowing and easy, and I don't want to feel overwhelmed. So I refuse to sacrifice that.
I love that because if we don't have that inner peace, then everything that we do is going to feel out of alignment and we're
Mhm.
not really going to be following what is meant for us or like even understanding like what we want and where we feel fulfilled.
And when you don't have that inner peace, you start being more reactive. And then that
Hmm.
affects other areas of your life too, if you're more reactive, because then you start, making those decisions based out of fears or other reasons. So when you have that inner peace, you feel more calm and then you start being more like you respond instead of react.
Yes, I love that. And I know we'll probably dive deeper into that, but that is so important to call that out because I feel like oftentimes we can be going through life. And if we are not feeling fulfilled or we're feeling stuck or we're feeling like we don't know what's our purpose in life or where we're going, then we are making those decisions based on
Hmm.
fears, based on scarcity, based on those conditionings that keep us in that place instead of moving forward and growing. So I know we're going to dive deeper into that, but I love that answer because, inner peace is so important. And I feel like a lot of people take that for granted. So
Hmm.
let's talk about like your work. So you're a life coach and you work specifically with first gen Latinas in their 30s who feel stuck in career relationships they have grown. And that's like a very specific experience. So walk us through like how you started focusing on that and maybe I'm sure that probably came from your personal experience, but how did you start working with Latinas on this specific experiences and situations?
Yeah. So it does definitely involve my own personal journey. I started my personal development journey when I was in my 20s, like after college. That's when I discovered manifestation, the law of attraction. And I was always interested. It's kind of like the other guests that you've had on your podcast, where we are all high achieving, driven women, right? So even from the time that I was like in middle school, I always had goals in mind, and nobody ever taught me that. So when I graduated college, I was started self-development books, business books, not knowing really what my purpose was or what I wanted to do with my life. Many of us first gens are, like you mentioned before, conditioning, that we started living our life based on what we should, quote unquote, should be doing, or what, especially if we have parents that moved to this country or immigrated to this country and sacrificed for us. So then there's that aspect where it's so normalized to not even think about ourselves or what we
Hmm.
truly want. So during my personal development journey, it's been, ongoing and it never ends. But once I turned 30 or 35, actually, that was my wake up call. That's when I decided to start a completely new chapter. I was actually engaged for 2 years. I was in a 7-year relationship. I was in a job that I was miserable at and felt like I was not growing in, and I just felt really not in a great place. And
Mhm.
when I turned 35, that's when I asked myself what, that question of like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I thought I would be in a different place, or I would at least be happier, because I know we're probably going to touch on timelines and things like that. But after navigating that chapter and starting over and ending the relationship, quitting my job, starting my business, taking those bold, courageous steps, that's after that is when I decided to. I mean, I always enjoyed working with first gen Latinas just because
Mhm.
of the common upbringing that we have and experiences.
Mhm.
But then I know that it's like I do enjoy working with women in their 30s, but it's also like the 20s también. Like, but yeah, but I feel like I love working with women in their 30s because in our 30s we have even more conditioning, or like we feel even more that it's more normalized to just stay where we are,
Mhm.
and that it feels harder to take those steps. And that's something that I want to break, because now
Mhm.
I'm 39 and I'm still never, like I said, it's ongoing, and
Mhm.
that's part of life, to continue taking bold action steps and starting new chapters all the time, because they could look different either way.
Yeah, and I love that you like name like the age because maybe also it could be the stage in life that you're in, and maybe it's also our generation. So when you're thinking
Hmm.
about the women, you're thinking about like who was the millennial in their 20s and who was
Right.
the millennial in their 30s. So at least like for me and a lot of women I've coached and a lot of women that I know, like your 20s, you're trying to figure out life. And
Hmm.
you think things are going to look a certain way, but in your 30s is when you really realize like who I am as a person. What do I want? And it could be in your early 30s, it could be mid to late 30s, and I feel like that's such a special age in a
Hmm.
period because you are really understanding who you are and what you want out of life and what you are willing and not willing to accept. And I mean, maybe the next generation, maybe Gen Zs are different and maybe they will go through a lot of those things in their 20s. But I can
Right.
see like why you resonate because it's the same way with me. Like I have worked with people in their 20s and also in their 30s. And it's just maybe I think it's the generation and the things that we went
Hmm.
through in within our generation that, by our 30s, we realize these things. But maybe, or hopefully, I really do hope that for the following generations, that it can be something that they can address early on so that they don't have to have the same struggles that we did.
Right. And also, when you're in your 30s, you also have more life experience. So I feel like women in
Mhm.
their 30s are more ready to, or like more like ready to take action, because they already
Mhm.
know what it has felt like to be in a place where they were not the happiest, right? And I also heard, and I am excited to turn 40. Actually, there's women sometimes that feel like, oh, I'm 30, like I should have all my life figured out, or like, oh my god, I'm 35, like if I am not in my dream relationship yet, then it's never going to happen and I'm never going to have kids. I'm actually going to turn 40 this year, and I'm actually excited for that, because I hear that the 40s are our new 30s or whatever, that like
Yeah,
life keeps
yeah.
getting better and better. And I really do believe that. Like, I don't have kids yet, I'm not married yet, and it's okay. And I am grateful for all of the life experiences that I've had, and also of my journey. And yeah, but I feel like I resonate with everything that you said about women in their 30s. And I feel like that's something else that I like to portray or to show my audience, like on social media or even with my clients, that it's that the whole point of life is to continue experiencing new things and to continue learning. So to not think too much of making the quote unquote like right decision and trying to control or have timelines and things like that, because either way, like that's why we're here, to continue learning, growing, and evolving.
Definitely. Yeah, so I want to like talk about the feeling of being stuck or what is even the stuckness, right? What does it look like? Why do we feel stuck? And I mean, I guess like we might say, "Oh, I feel stuck because you don't know what you want or you don't know what to do next." I feel like a lot of my clients, and I'm sure a lot of your clients, they feel stuck and they don't realize it. They're just like, this is how it is, or I just
Mhm.
have to deal with it. This is life. But how do you know when you're truly stuck versus when you are just going through like a hard season?
So when you're feeling stuck, it's an uneasy feeling. It's a sense of discomfort. It feels like Like you just have like a heavy energy that feels like you're being weighed down. And the thing is that you can't really explain it to other people because they're not you. They don't have your life experiences. They don't have your vision. They don't have your dreams. So only you feel it in your body. It
Mhm,
also, oftentimes I hear from clients and even from my own personal experience that when you feel stuck, when I have felt stuck in the past, that it would affect my sleep or affect other areas of my life
mhm.
like that, where I had those thoughts, like just ruminating thoughts of like, just again with that sense, that uneasy feeling or sense of discomfort, just feeling like I don't feel like I'm doing what I need to be doing, or like I don't feel like I'm reaching the potential that I have inside. So with this, it also takes self-awareness, right? Because just
Mhm.
like you said, how do you know if you're stuck or if you're just going through a hard season or sliding into the next thing? So many people just do that they just slide into the next thing mindlessly without intention, especially if, for example, if you're in, well, both, right, in a career or in a relationship, where if you're in a relationship and you have been with them since high school or college, right? And then all of a sudden, yeah, you've been with them for an X amount of years. You haven't really given yourself that permission to go within and to ask yourself if you really are happy and fulfilled and want to be with this person. And you just unintentionally just slide into the next thing of, okay, well, we're just going to move in together because that's the next thing to do. Okay, if he proposes, like, I'm going to say yeah because it's the next thing. And that's what creates stuckness, when you don't go within, when you don't give yourself that permission to really be happy and choose what you feel that is going to make you feel more fulfilled or happy, even if it's scary, even if it is something that logically might not make sense.
I love that you brought up the like just going with the flow, and that's when like going with the flow is probably not the right thing to do.
More
Like
so like going through the motions,
yeah, like
I
going
feel
yeah,
like.
that exactly. More like going through the
Because
motions,
flow is
but
different, right? Sorry.
yeah,
Oh,
I
sorry
know.
for
That's how I
cutting.
was like, no, no, that's okay. That's exactly why I was like, I don't know if that was the right word to use, but yes, like going with emotions in the sense that you're just like going along and
Mhm,
without really pausing and assessing, like or
mhm.
reflecting, right? Whether or not
Yeah,
like, hey, do I want this? Is this what I want in my life? Does this align with my goals? Is this, you know, the right move for me versus like, I guess this is what I think I need to do next. This is the logical next step, or
this is what makes sense.
this is what makes sense. And that's like when we need to take a step back and really reflect on, is this something that I'm doing because I think I need to do it? Or like who said that this needs to happen this way and why? Like questioning those things. It's like you
Exactly.
said, self-awareness is so important, and really assessing like whether or not this is something that you truly want to do, that is aligned with your goals, aligned with where you want to see be in life, versus just you're doing it because you think is the right thing, or you feel like that's where you should be.
Mhm.
And that's where, again, understanding the difference between this is what I want, this is what's aligned with me, versus this is what I should be doing.
Exactly. And the other thing that I want to add to that is how mentioning how it involves self awareness, especially for your audience, ambitious women of color, right? A lot of times, ambitious women are always, not always, are busy. Like we keep
Hmm.
ourselves busy and doing. So that's why it's important to take time for yourself and to pause, like you mentioned, or even like, and it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a whole like life-changing thing that you're adding to your day and stressing you out. Even it could just start with like 5 minutes a day, like 5 minutes a day before going to sleep, just putting your phone away and for 5 minutes setting your timer and your phone, like setting a timer on
Hmm.
your phone and just sitting with yourself, like closing your eyes, and just, you don't even have to close your eyes, whatever, like just sitting with yourself to like process your day and process your life, because a lot of times we don't give ourselves that space. We don't even give ourselves that opportunity to think about our life, to like, I don't know, like
Hmm.
you mentioned, reflect. Like we're on the go all the time. And that's why a lot of people end up just sliding into the next thing. And all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, it's December. Oh wow, it's already the new year. It's January, like with time
Hmm.
passing by, because literally that's the only thing that's constant, like that time passing by. So if you don't pause, if you don't intentionally take that time to reflect and to choose how you want your life to go, then all of a sudden you're going to find yourself like I did when I turned 35, realizing that I was in the wrong relationship and had to drastically make some changes so we could avoid that. It's where life doesn't have to be that difficult, if you like catch things earlier and stuff and you
Mhm.
give yourself that space.
Yeah, and like you said, the this how it manifests in a career and also how it can manifest in a relationship. And I feel like the other side of the coin around feeling stuck is like not knowing what your next move needs to be, like
Mhm.
whether or not you
Yeah.
should stick around or, oftentimes you feel stuck and it's like, I don't know if right now is the right time to make a move, or I don't know what the right move is, or just like not even understanding what your next step needs to be or see or knowing, if you've outgrown something or, or this is the right place and you should, stay and maybe make some tweaks, maybe make some changes. I know when I'm talking about like in career and how I've seen these signs is like a lot of times like women stay in jobs that they've outgrown. So they're like, I feel
Mhm.
stuck in my career, but I've, been in this company for a long time and this is the way for me to grow. And even if like say they're burnt out or something, they still stay there. And like for me, I always talk about like leaving is such a strategic move, especially in
Mhm.
your career and in like life and in general. But like in your career, if you are in a place that you either outgrown or that, you're burning out or they're not really valuing you, staying, it's only gonna make things worse. Like it's
Mhm.
not going to help you like move forward. And say you do get a promotion, you're still going to be dealing with the same patterns and the same issues and things are going to get bigger because now you have more
Yeah.
responsibility. Now, you have more pressure and more stress. So like the things that you think just if I get a promotion and make more money, it's going to be worth it. Like, well, what if you were in another space where you got a promotion and more money and you're actually like valued and getting the work and the respect and everything that you deserve? We think, or a lot of people like think you have to like stay committed in one place and that fear of like, what if somewhere else is not as good? Or what if this is as good as it gets and I just need to deal with it? Those are the signs that I've seen in career and as well as in relationship, right? Like I've
Mhm.
been in this relationship for like, say, 5 years. If you're like, I've been in here this for 5 years, like maybe it won't get better. Maybe it's better this way. So I don't have to deal with dating or deal with somebody else.
Yeah. So one thing that you mentioned was when feeling stuck that came up for me or that I wanted to highlight is how sometimes people stay stuck because they want to avoid just taking any action, but also
Hmm.
también or also because they are scared of making the wrong decision or they don't know what to do next, right? So then they end up just staying in it and basically like overthinking and
Hmm.
just they feel safer to just be where they are, especially in a relationship, right? Well, it's similar. Relationships and career are really
Yes,
similar.
they
Yeah, they
are
really, really
so
are.
similar.
So yeah. So like if you're in a relationship, it's like and even a career, like it's like, oh man, I invested all of these years, I invested all of this time, so it has to pay off. Like I don't why would I start over? It can get better. Let me continue trying. Let me continue giving it my all. So that's something that I have seen, from clients that they just feel like it just feels like they just want to stay because they want to give it their all. They're scared of the dating scene. They don't want to risk, like they see it as a risk of what if I don't find someone better? What if I don't find someone at all? Because I am in my 30s, mid 30s, late 30s, or whatever. And instead, they feel like this is the safest choice. But something that I do want to mention is how it's normal to feel that way. And I say that because our brains are what cause those thoughts, right? And like we talk about this during our weekly calls and everything when it comes to consciousness and whatnot, that our brain was developed or created to keep you safe. It like literally
Hmm.
that's its job. So just understanding that is huge, where if you just understand that your brain's job is to keep you in your comfort zone and to keep you safe, then that is helpful information, because then you could, when you notice those thoughts, those fearful thoughts or that doubt and fear and everything, then you could label it and be like, okay, that's just my brain trying to keep me safe, And that's something that my clients use too, where we talk about it in that sense where I'm like, oh, your brain is telling you these thoughts, because it's not you. It's not like it's not truth, and you get to
Mhm.
question those thoughts, so that's really helpful information. But the other thing too that I want to say about wanting to avoid and wanting to, or feeling like it's a risk is that, just like you mentioned, that what are you risking by staying even longer? Like, it's just going to continue expanding even more. And like you said, it's going to keep getting heavier and heavier, especially if you do feel it in your gut, if you feel it, your intuition that has been speaking to you, it's just going to keep getting louder and louder. And you're going to end up reaching that breaking point where you're going to take action eventually. So you might as well start now and take action now when you are aware of it in the beginning, like instead of continuing to wait until, yeah, you can't take it anymore. And then it is
Mhm.
like just a bigger change in your life.
Like a lot of what I see is that, like you said, you feel like you invested so much. You're like, maybe I just stay and try to control the things around me so things get better. So two things is, one is that they feel I I can make things better by controlling others, or controlling the environment or the situation. But you only have control over yourself. So that's like one thing. And then the second is that the thoughts, right, around, well, it's safer to stay here because
Uh-huh.
if I leave, I am admitting failure. I'm admitting that I
Okay.
didn't do that. It didn't work out for me. And
Yeah.
then that's like something else, right? That like our brain may be telling us, if you leave this job, you weren't good enough for it, or you couldn't handle it, or like it has
Uh-huh.
nothing to do with you not being good enough or not being able to handle it or smart enough for that role. It is your environment.
Uh-huh.
We have control over how we view things, the thoughts that we want to accept, the way that we want to approach. And if you decided to stay somewhere, yes, there are things that you can do to make them better. But at the end of the day, do you want to be in a place that is not going to value you, and a place that's not going to respect you as a leader? And that's the same thing for relationship. A person who's not going to value you, a person who's not going to respect you. That fear of making the move, like, what if the next move, the next thing, the next place, the next job, the next relationship is even better and way better than you even imagined possible? But you're not giving yourself
Exactly.
that opportunity because of the fear.
Yeah, so my thought came back as you were talking, and it was yeah, I was like, "Oh, there it is." That we put so much pressure on ourselves to make the right decision, and we, especially, how with ambitious women, that we are hardworking and that we want to give it our all and that we are smart, we know we're capable, just putting, like, we just know ourselves, right? We that obviously is really helpful in our career, in life in general. But sometimes we add so much pressure to ourselves to make the quote unquote right decision. And we forget that we have access to a higher power. So I'm going to go there. Sometimes it's like a little, hard to talk about, or like, I don't know, because sometimes we feel like logically we like everything should make sense, right?
Hmm.
But we have access to a higher power. And that's something that I've been talking to with my clients recently, and it's been really helpful because it releases so much pressure and so much stress. And that has been a part of my own journey as well, where prior to that, I felt like it was all on me to make the right decision, to figure it out, and I was relying on my own strength and on my own even creativity, right? Of like,
Hmm.
these are the solutions that I could make, and just on my own logical mind. But when you tap into your highest self, or your connection to God, source, the universe, whatever you want to call it, it's all the same thing, then you are able to have access to even more infinite possibilities that your brain right now can't even fathom. So once that goes with releasing some of the control and letting go,
Hmm.
and also to trust more. And I know that it can be easier said than done, especially for high achieving women that, like, pride themselves on making things happen and hustling and whatnot and all of those things. But it really, really, really is a game changer when we start to connect ourselves to a higher power and start releasing some of the pressures, because there's infinite possibilities, or infinite, like, we experience synchronicities, right? That there's like there's no such thing as coincidences. Things start happening once you make that decision, and once you so basically, like, just deciding what you want, and then
Hmm.
from there, like, you don't have to have everything figured out. So when you're feeling stuck, having that awareness and being like, okay, I like this relationship is not doing it for me anymore. So I'm choosing to like I want it to be different. And then from there, you could start having that communication and that connection, like asking for guidance. So even just starting there is really helpful where you start just asking like, okay, God, source, the universe, whatever you want to call it, I'm feeling stuck. Like, guide me. Like, I want some guidance. Give me a sign, give me a signal, or however you can talk to God however you want. And then from there, you're going to start getting those nudges. And you could also ask for it to be easy because sometimes when we think about starting a new chapter, we think that it's going to be really hard, or we think that it's
Mhm.
going to be, whether there's going to be drama or it's going to be conflicting or it's just going to be, like really challenging. But we could ask God for it to not be hard. And we could ask for whatever we want. So that's something that I wanted to touch on during this conversation because I feel like that has been a huge for me and also for my clients lately when I've been starting to offer that, and it's been a game changer.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that people don't realize, like how powerful it is. I always talk about like the power of the pause, right? And allowing yourself to like, really think about like where is this coming from? That self-awareness, understanding where is this coming from? Or like you said, like asking like, hey, like I'm feeling this way. I don't know what to do next. And, tapping into your higher self or God
Mhm,
or the universe, a higher power that you believe in. And
mhm,
that is really like, that is really what helps you get to the next level in an aligned and strategic way. Everything in career, business, life, mindset is so much more important than the strategy
mhm,
because you can try all the strategies in the world, but if you're not in the right identity, mindset, headspace, then you're not going to get there or get to like the bigger place and the like the
mhm,
a better option than if you're just like, okay, I just need to take this strategic move and then I'm going to get there versus you are embodying that person, you are, the person you want to
mhm,
be, or embodying that role you want to be in or embodying being already in that relationship you want to be in. And then you attract someone who is exactly like what you were
mhm,
looking for, or the job that's exactly the one that you wanted, or even better than you imagine. And it comes from that like being in touch with yourself and understanding yourself, what you want, who you are, because I feel like so many of us don't know who we are or what we want. We've been so conditioned or programmed to like think a certain way,
mhm,
want certain things, and we don't even know why. So like,
mhm,
when you're talking about the timeline and letting go of control and letting go of like that, letting go of like that timeline that somebody said that this is by the time that you need to do something, especially for ambitious women and especially first gen women of color, is it's just so important to like understand like, why do we even have this timeline? Like, where did it
mhm,
come from? And why is it so hard for us specifically to like let go of that and let go of control? Because, like you said, ambitious women, especially ambitious women of color, they're used to planning everything. We're like, we want something, let's, write down all the steps and take everything step by step. And it's up to me. And I have the control and only I can make that
mhm,
happen. That is like where, you feel stuck if you're like, I'm this age and I haven't reached this milestone, or I'm here in this role and I haven't reached director role yet. I should be a director by now. And like
yep,
those like arbitrary timelines. Like, yeah, I would love to like dive deeper into that and like what have you
mhm.
seen and how have you seen like your mindset and the way that you approach it, how it's like a game changer when you have the right mindset and you have that connection with self and a higher
Mhm,
power, and
mhm.
how that helps you like to 10x your results.
Yeah, I feel one thing that came to mind that when as you were speaking about this is we've seen those memes or those pictures on social media that say your plan and it's like I don't know, like 2 flowers or something, and then next to it, it says God's plan, and it's like a whole wall of flowers or whatever, like, and that's what
Yeah.
comes to mind, where whenever we use our own willpower, our own, like, logical mind and everything, and we think we know that this is exactly what I want, that it's like, I want this promotion and this is it, like, this is going to make me happy and everything. It's good to have direction. So obviously that's better it's better than not having any at
Hmm.
all, or not, choosing or deciding, and, just living your life like without, without that. However, like you have mentioned a couple of times, that it's that or something better. And when you
Hmm.
decide to, that's when you let go and you open up yourself to the infinite possibilities. So that's why it's good to have to choose, right? But you're limiting yourself when you decide, or when you're telling yourself that it's only that. Because if that was a case, like, and you look back in your life, you'll probably find examples. So for instance, like, personally, like, I thought that I wanted to marry the last person that I was with, and I was with that person for 7 years. And I, like, when I was in it, I was like, like, forced, like, not, yeah, pretty much like forcing it to work, and like trying to
Hmm.
do everything right to make it work. But that was not, like, there was better, so
Hmm.
like now I'm experiencing that, and it took years, because then after I ended that relationship, I was single for 3 years, and now, like, I'm experiencing an even better relationship that I wouldn't have experienced if I would have stayed in the other. And that's what happens, that's also to people, to women in careers as well, right? That, like, so you, like, sometimes there's women that, like, think that they want that specific position, and then they get it, and then it doesn't feel right, it doesn't, something still feels off, or it almost feels like, I don't know, and that's because you were using your logical mind of, like, oh, this is what it has to be. But when you let go and you just open up yourself to other possibilities, you can be surprised. And you could also decide, and again, when you have that communication, or when you start having that connection to your highest self or to God, you could even ask, like, okay, surprise me, God. Or like, today I want to be surprised. Like, show me how good life gets. Like, that's a quote that I use all the time. Like, in the morning, getting ready, like when you're getting up and starting your day, just deciding that you're gonna have a great day, and just asking, like, show me how great life gets, show me how abundant life can be, like, all of that. Because we don't even, sometimes, especially as ambitious women, we feel like we have to earn things, we have to take all this action. But why can't we choose to simply receive? And if you feel uncomfortable even hearing that, or with receiving, like, then that's work that needs to be done. It can't Life can be easier. It doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to earn everything. You are inherently worthy as you are right now. And there's other people out there that are living their dream lives, and life is flowing for them and everything. So why can't we experience that too?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you touched on learning to let go and receive. I feel that especially for first gen, or I mean just in general, like women of color that are first gen and a lot of things, maybe first to go to college or first to break generational cycles, or those experiences that make it so difficult to let go of control and receiving. I want to touch on receiving because I feel like that is something that we struggle with because we are used to controlling everything and we used to going for the or doing all the things we need to do to get the things we want, and we end up getting it, but then we feel like that disconnect, or we feel like we're responsible for getting all the results that we have to work really hard for. And we have a hard time receiving. And that is seen in the workplace, that is seen in relationships, that is
Hmm.
seen in money, right? Where if you can't receive, then you can't like
You're blocking your
Yes,
blessings,
exactly.
your
You're blocking your
abundance.
blessings. So you could be in a relationship with someone and you're not allowing them to show you how much, they care about you, show you how much they value you, because maybe every time they try to help you or try to do something for you, you're like, no, I got it. Like I can do this, right? Or money, right? If we don't know how to receive money, we feel that we need to work hard for every single dollar that we make without it coming from like other places, without it just coming out of nowhere and being surprised with money and knowing how
Hmm.
to receive money. Or when it comes to, career, it's like we feel like we need to do everything. And especially if we're getting into those leadership roles, and we have a hard time delegating work. We have a hard time like
Hmm.
saying no to work because we are not allowing ourselves to just be in a place where we don't have to be working so hard to be able to have quality results in the workplace,
Mhm.
great performance. It doesn't mean that you need to work hard to produce well results. And a lot of it, comes from not being able to let go
Mhm.
and not being able to receive. So I would love for you to because I know you touch a lot on it, like on a self-development stance and how that like helps you to be more fulfilled and be able to be in a better place in your relationship, in
Mhm.
your career, and in life because you learn the skill, because it's a skill. Learn the skill of receiving.
It definitely is a skill. Man, I have experience in this. It's wild. I couldn't receive before. And also también something else that I want to touch on real quick is how when it comes to creating our dream life and with have setting those intentions and everything and talking about reflection and everything, one thing that is super helpful is to view life and your past and your future with a sense of curiosity. So that's really helpful because something that we touched on earlier and I forgot to mention is how we add emotions to everything, right? So like we make things mean like what our decision we make, like, so if we are thinking of making a certain decision, or if we, how we're talking about being stuck,
Mhm.
when we add those emotions, like, man, I'm failing, you said that earlier, like, oh man, I'm failing, like, man, this means that I was wrong, blah blah blah, that's just adding emotions to it, and that's unnecessary. Like, we don't have to. We could continue if we just look at life with a sense of curiosity and with a neutral state, like just without adding those emotions, then we're gonna just keep it moving and continue to learn from everything, right? But to go back to your question or to talk about receiving, one thing that I wanted to mention about receiving is looking at your role in your relationships or in your career, right? And taking accountability, because sometimes that's hard. Taking accountability or seeing what
Like,
your
how am
part,
I
what
contributing to this result
exactly,
or this
exactly.
experience or situation that I'm unhappy with?
Exactly. So once I did that, so I'll give the example of my long-term relationship and engagement. When I really took the time to look within and I took that accountability for my side of the relationship or my role in it, I realized that he was not like that he wasn't gonna, like, poor guy, right? Like, I could not receive, even if he would have tried to do everything to step up or to try to make the relationship work or whatever, like, it wasn't gonna work either way because of that also. Like, there was a bunch of other reasons too, but that was one of them that I was not able to receive, and I just couldn't. It just felt really difficult for me. There's other reasons like my upbringing, seeing how men in my family were controlling with like were the ones controlling money and everything, and just seeing that from an early age. So then I thought, I mean, even my parents telling me like, "Don't ever have a guy control your money or whatever," just feeling like I had to have my
Mhm,
money on the side, like stuff like that, right? Talking about
mhm,
money, but also I mean, talking about other things in a
mhm,
relationship. But because of that, that's coming from a wounded place. So one
mhm.
question or one thing that I want to invite our audience to ask themselves when it comes to receiving, if they have a difficult time, and this could sound a little harsh, but like, take it how you want. But what are you trying to prove? For me, I felt like I was trying to prove that I got it, like that I don't need anybody, and that's coming from a wounded place. That was not helpful for anyone, right? And
And
just
your
like you said,
ego, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And just like you said, it meant if you, and for me, like, I was such a giver and I felt like I needed to give or whatever. But I guess if for me, like, if I'm being honest, when it came to that last relationship, it was coming from también like wanting to have the control in the relationship, right? So then like I'm giving, but it's like, oh, let me like not so there's an imbalance, right?
Mhm.
So that's why when you ask yourself, like, what are you trying to prove, or like, where is this coming from? Maybe that's a more gentle way to say it. That's when you have to be honest with yourself and figure out where that is coming from. For me, it was coming from a wounded place and I couldn't receive for those reasons. And because it felt really scary. And I remember after I ended the relationship and I was single, I mentioned I was single for 3 years. So I did a lot of inner work during that time. I remember sitting in silence and meditating and asking, like, okay, God, show me what I need to see right now when it comes to wanting to progress in my love life. And I sat in silence and meditated, And that's when I got this feeling or like this memory, like this vision. I visualized myself walking down the aisle. You know, that I'm like, okay, I say that I want to get married and I got close, I got engaged, but I didn't get married. So like what's stopping me from getting married? Then I remember sitting in silence and visualizing myself walking down the aisle, and it felt so hard. Like my body felt so constricted. Like if it was like
Mhm.
so uncomfortable and like it was like I started crying, and then I was like, oh my God, it felt so unsafe to
Mhm.
experience that, to get married. So then that was like my invitation to figure out why. And for me, that's when I realized, like, of course I'm not getting married. Like my body doesn't feel safe. Like I feel like I'm going to be controlled, or that I'm not going to find, a person that is going to be loving and caring and all of those things. So yeah, but for me, like I had to start practicing receiving, and I started slowly, like, so even with compliments, right? So our audience, like, I'm going to give some
Mhm.
practical so even with compliments, if someone compliments you and then you're repelling that, or right away saying, oh yeah, but you're like complimenting back right away, right?
Mhm.
So that's a way to practice receiving, by just saying thank you. Like, thank you. Yeah. Like, you don't have to continue like saying anything after that. You don't have to explain why, they gave you that compliment or whatever. Another way is having, like, when someone opens the doors for you, or just like does like little things for you, to just, even though it feels uncomfortable in the beginning, to just do it with that intention of knowing that it might feel uncomfortable and that it is a practice, like you said, especially
Mhm.
for high achieving women, right? Your audience, it's like, okay, I'm
It's
going
a
to master this
practice.
skill. I'm choosing to master this skill, and then to
See
just
it that way.
practice.
Yes, if you see it that way. And it's like, I mean, mindset is everything, right? So if you choose to see it and like, I know I could do this. Like, I know I can pick up my luggage and put it up there. But if
Mhm.
somebody is offering to, I'm going to say, and I practice
Yeah.
all the time because I have a hard time with the control and being super independent, right? So it's like letting them open the door for you. Like, this is heavy. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
you're not
exactly.
asking, they see you picking something heavy
Mhm.
instead of being like, I lift heavy weights at the gym. I could do this. I'm like, yes, thank you and appreciate it. And then you're showing the universe, like, I am open to receiving. I
Mhm.
appreciate when things are given to me. I appreciate when I
I
receive,
deserve
right?
it.
I deserve it. Yes. And it's not that I can't do it myself. I am
Mhm.
choosing to let go of that and accept and receive.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, I want to just highlight again how it is a practice and that it might feel really uncomfortable depending on where you are with this. I'll quickly just share how I remember when I started dating after that relationship, and I made it awkward and weird every time I had a first date because I felt like I needed to pay. I couldn't receive. I didn't want them to pay, even if it was a coffee, whatever, less than $10, right? And I remember when I finally had my first second date. So after the first date, I made it awkward. We split the bill, right? Because we went to breakfast or whatever, brunch. But then I was going to have a second date with him. And I remember feeling so nervous before that second date, because it was going to be like a following week. And the day before that second date, it was physically like in my body, I was like nervous, like I kept thinking about it, and it like felt really unsafe. And I remember crying. Like, it sometimes like, I don't know, depending on where you are, like, give yourself that compassion and grace. Cause after that, I remember deciding, like, okay, like, I'm gonna let him pay because he invited me, obviously, So then, but it felt so hard. Like, journaled, or I, processed my feelings. I let myself cry. I told myself that it's safe, that I am safe, that, just doing inner work, right? But then the next day, when the date actually happened, it still felt so uncomfortable. But just having that awareness, and also just deciding that, okay, I'm practicing this skill. When it came to the, like us ordering food and him paying the check, my heart was racing because that's just, it was really hard. But I just sat there. So, like, I grabbed my phone or something, or I just chose to, like, intentionally let it pass, that I think I was just like breathing, or whatever, like, and letting it pass. And then after it happened and he paid, I don't know. It sounds like so silly even talking about it now because I've progressed so much. And that's what, mastering a skill looks like, that afterwards you look back and you're like, I can't believe that was even a thing. But if you're in it now, like, just know that it's gonna get better. But after he paid, it's progress. It's like going to the gym where after,
Mhm.
like, it gets better and better. So after he paid, I remember just like feeling like, hey, that wasn't so bad, even though like it felt so hard the day before, and it sounds silly
Mhm.
talking about it now, but it's a skill, it's a practice. So give yourself grace and compassion.
Yes, thank you. And I want to anyone listening and they're like, "Okay, now I know that I am stuck and I know that I need to make a change. But I don't know if I should stay in this situation or if I should, if I should stay and try and fix it or if I just need to leave." How do you help them get clarity in this situation?
Yeah, so this is like really common because especially, with all our logical mind looking for reasons. It looks for the most creative reasons and excuses to stay. With clients, I help like I never tell them what to do, obviously. Yeah, everyone has their own journey. I have had clients that have been in long-term relationships, and I've had some that when we started working together right away, when we looked within, because it starts with you. Like,
Mhm.
it's not really our job to decide like, oh, this is exactly, what I'm going to do. Like, your job is to do something, and it's really spiritual as well. Your job is to be the best version that you can be, and to just like expand your being to like to receive and to be the light. I know it sounds kind of like woo woo a little bit, but going within is basically is the answer that I want to say. So going within, using guided meditations, or just tapping into their highest self. So I've used that too with clients. That is really helpful. So it's a case by case basis. So I've had clients that right away, as soon as we started, going within and figuring out like, okay, like what's the best, like what feels right for you. And for some, right away they knew. And it came down to just giving themselves a permission. So like as soon as they signed up for coaching with me, it's almost like that they just were giving themselves a permission of, hey, this is what I want to do. And like I knew that before, but now I know for sure. So then right away they started taking those steps and moved on, right? But with other ones, it's a little longer. And that's the thing, that like I don't tell them what to do, and I'm not going to pressure anyone, right? So there's clients in the past that have decided to start doing couples counseling, for instance, even if they've been in a long-term relationship and things hadn't changed in a while, and that's okay. Like, until they so the thing is that everyone is different, and it comes down to doing everything that you can from your side. And once you feel like it's complete, and those lessons that you needed to learn from that relationship are complete, and that there's nothing else that you can do, and that it's just done, right? That's when you move on. But if you still feel like I don't know, like I still feel like I didn't really try, or like I still feel like there's something else here, then we look into that. And that's what it's different for every single person.
Yeah, I love that you name that or acknowledge that it is a different experience and different outcome for everyone because somebody like you, like for you, it was, time to leave that relationship. But somebody else, they could maybe they discovered during that like reflection and meditation and inner work that, hey, I had something. I mean, and we always have something to do in the
Mhm,
circumstances that we're in, but maybe they realize there is something I can do to change how I approach this relationship or career, right? There are things that I can do. And then you try, okay, I make these changes that are in my control that are based on how I'm approaching it or how I'm acting or the role that I'm playing. And then you can have more clarity of like whether or not is the right it's the right move to stay and fix it or to leave. But
yeah.
it takes, like you said, the self-reflection, the diving deep and you know also like for people who don't understand like what does it mean about like embodying your highest self. And sometimes you think your highest self is this perfect version of you that like never makes mistakes and they're just perfect, right? But I always try to envision somebody that's just a few steps ahead of you. They don't have to
Mhm,
be perfect, they don't have to know it all, but they have discovered things that you're still working towards discovering. Like, what is Cande that's two steps ahead of you? Like, how does she act and how would she approach
mhm,
this? And what are the thoughts that she has? And just thinking that way, it's already a win. It's already helping you, like, be able to make a move and make the right move for you. And then another thing that you said and that I've seen that is so powerful in why, people can be able to make changes quickly versus the ones that don't is that once you've decided and you've already
mhm,
decided. Like a lot of times like the people that we work with, the reason that they achieve the things that they want quickly is because they already decided. And just like deciding, like, I'm going to work with Cande because I already decided that I am going to make a change, or I'm going to work
Even though
with
I don't know
Jess.
what that change is.
Exactly. Or just like, I already decided that I am done with how I've been treated in the workplace and I'm going to make a change. And I've had clients that, like, within a few sessions, things have turned around for them because
Exactly.
they made that decision. So everything that they're doing now is with that, like, they're already a different person.
Intention.
Exactly. They're already
Mhm.
a different person because they set the intention and now they are making every decision from that place, not from the wounded place, not from the scared place, not from that fear place. And I'd had like clients that are like, I was still scared, but I did it anyway because I set
Mhm.
that intention. Like, I was afraid to set boundaries at work or tell my boss no, but I did it and I didn't die. you know, like, and it
Exactly.
wasn't as bad as I thought. Or maybe they did it and they cried, but then they got over it and they're like, okay, actually, life is better now because I made the intention and I decided to do it. And even if I didn't know where things were going to go, like, setting that intention and deciding that that is what you want, that already, it's like helping you get a few steps ahead.
And also to not view life as so serious. I used to view life as like black and white and all or nothing. Like I have to like that every action like mattered and
Hmm.
that every decision that I made was a big deal. What if we decide to not like what if we decided to change that and to not view life as so serious? Because again, it's ongoing. And even if it comes down to like having a huge goal or dream, like getting promoted or reaching a certain level in your career, or even like getting married and having kids and stuff, like life doesn't have to be so heavy and serious and everything can still flow and it could happen. It could happen again, like how I mentioned earlier, without that like weight of needing to know how
Hmm.
like the every single step and like reaching it by this timeline or by this time. And being open to, receiving in different ways and all of that. But life doesn't have to be so serious because it's not. We're here to continue learning and to
Hmm.
continue evolving. And it is ongoing. Even if you do get what you think that you really, really, really want right now, be open to having it possibly change. Like, what if it changes next year? That's okay too. You're allowed to change your mind whenever you want. Life doesn't have to be so serious. And it's not nothing is the end of the world. It really
Yes.
isn't.
And letting go of that, like, sense of urgency too, because like you said, what if you do get where you really want it right now versus if you got it in 2 years when you're a different person? And
Mhm.
maybe if you got it right now, you wouldn't be able to hold it. You wouldn't be able to sustain it. It would be too much for you. But in 2 years or even 6 months, like, when you did the work that you needed to
Mhm.
expand your capacity to hold that much success or that much money or that much responsibility, like, you're a different person. It's like saying, if you imagine, oh, by 25, I would have had children, and you don't. And now you're 38 and now you have a
Mhm.
child. Like, you're a different mom at 25 that you're at 38. And not that, young moms are not good moms, but you've gone through so many things in life. You are a different person and
Mhm.
you are handling things differently. You might be more financially stable. So it's like those things that, like, for the person that had it when they were young, that was what was meant to happen for them.
Exactly.
And for the person that had it at 38, 40, that was what was meant to happen for them. And not seeing it as like, yeah, not seeing it as like, my life needs to look like your life.
That's exactly the example that I was gonna use, that if I would have had a child any other time in my life prior to now, and I'm not even close or whatever right now yet, I don't know, but I would have been a completely different mom because now I'm way more like just more evolved, right? I'm way more even patient, kinder, like more understanding just because of every single thing that I've experienced so far. But the other thing too that I want to say from everything you just said right now is that everyone is on their own journey. So that's why it is all individualized for you. It is like there is no set way that like everything has to, even for our coaching, right? That
Hmm.
we can't like there's no generalization because it's all a case by case basis, as I
Hmm.
mentioned earlier, that like you don't have even if I had a client that's like I don't know like 40 or whatever, like or it doesn't age doesn't matter, it really doesn't. I don't know, I was going to say that like you could accomplish your goals and dreams at any time, or
Hmm.
even if you're 19 or 20 or what, like we are all different and we all have our own journey
Hmm.
and it's okay. So don't compare yourself to other people. You have to go
Yes.
within and compare yourself to your own self.
Yes. Yes. I love it. And before we wrap up, I would love to go to some quick, like rapid fire questions. So, starting off with, what is one question you could ask yourself when you're stuck?
What am I afraid will happen if I change my circumstances?
Oh,
So be
that's.
specific. So if it's
Hmm.
like money or like so instead of circumstances, like insert what you're stuck on, you know? So if I were to change something in my relationship or career or whatever,
Like, what am I afraid?
what am I afraid is going to happen if I would change my relationship, if I change my relationship or if I make a pivot in my career or whatever, like whatever you're stuck on.
Yeah, and that's gonna really help you uncover a lot of like, and then you ask yourself another
Yeah.
question, and dive deeper into what is like the root fear, the root cause, or
Right.
the root issue there. Yes, I love that.
Because right now it is you just keeping yourself safe or keeping you in your comfort zone. So by
Hmm.
asking like, "What am I afraid of?" Then you'll see, you'll be like, "That's actually not that scary or not that bad." But you have to lean into that fear, and that's something we don't do often, and that's why we stay stuck because it feels scary, but choose to lean into it.
Yes. Yeah, and actually like what you said right now, when you're like it's not that scary, or sometimes we make it so much bigger in our head, or we think that that's going to mean something. So then it's like you want to question it, like you want to find all the flaws, and like you are, a lawyer like trying to find
Yeah.
like because you want to question, like, is this a fact? Is this truly a fact, or is it just a belief or a thought or a fear? Like
Like, is it
is this
ultimately true?
like, yeah, is this 100% likely that that's going to happen?
Mhm,
And just like, diving deeper into that, because like you're right, like we like our brain, right, trying to protect us. And
mhm,
not that we don't want it to protect us, but it actually doesn't always do things that is for your best interest.
mhm,
It just does things to keep you safe, and that is its only job. So it's
mhm.
like, I don't care that you want to be a millionaire. Being a millionaire is scary. So then it's going to stop you from, getting
Yeah,
there.
be
But
because subconsciously we might have other fears like, "Oh, but then if I'm a millionaire, like, am I gonna be able to handle it? What about taxes? What about people
Mhm,
asking for money from my family?" Or, like, stuff like that that you don't even know, but by starting to ask those questions of, like, "What am I afraid of? Is this ultimately true?" Another one that sounds kind of blunt or whatever, but is I ask myself, like, "So what?" And then continue going, like, "So
mhm.
what?" It's like, "Well, then I'm gonna disappoint my parents, so what?" Oh, and then blah, 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 or whatever, and, like,
Oh, I
until you
love
get to
that.
that root cause because you're asking, like, "Okay, and then what?" Or you could say, like, "And then what?" I guess, instead of "So what?" But, yeah, like, to continue going deeper and deeper until you have that root cause, and then once you have that root cause, then that's when you give yourself that love and compassion of, like, "Oh, it's actually because I don't feel like I'm worthy of it," or like, "Oh, it's because of I feel like I'm not enough," or like, "Oh," or whatever the root cause is. There's, like, different ones, but those are common ones that I hear of, just feeling like I don't deserve it or like I have to earn
Mhm.
it or work hard or whatever, and that's when it's like, "But actually I'm choosing like, I don't." And then, yeah,
And then
life
you know
continues.
what you need to work on right there. Yeah. So, what is one mindset shift that can help with letting go of control?
Viewing life with like I mentioned earlier, like with as a in a neutral way with a sense of curiosity. Like having a sense of curiosity is life changing because you're not making things mean so much like sometimes people do, right? So when you view life with a sense of curiosity, you're just like, "Huh, okay, like that's interesting that my brain is telling me XYZ, right? Like giving me all these fearful thoughts or all of these reasons or that almost seem valid or almost seem real that might happen if I pursue, X or whatever. But when you view it from a sense of curiosity, you just feel a little lighter and
Mhm.
there's less pressure and you're just like, and it's almost like también like also viewing life as like fun, which,
Mhm.
can be easier said than done, but it's a practice. But viewing life as like, oh, okay, I hear that phrase, doing it for the plot. Sometimes, of like viewing life as fun. Like, why not? So choosing for life to be less serious. It doesn't have to
Yes.
be so serious.
Yes. And for those that are like, okay, I'm ready to make a big life change and change my life. What is like the best manifestation practice for this person that's making this big life change?
The one that I'm gonna give is the easiest one because I wanted it to initially just say journaling, but sometimes people feel like they overcomplicate it, you know? So I'm not even gonna go there right now. But the one that I'm gonna say is mindfulness to go within, like I mentioned earlier, to just sit with yourself because that's not complicated, and you're giving yourself that space to start seeing what your thoughts are right now and to start reflecting by just having those 5 minutes every day before, yeah, whatever. It could be in the morning or it could be in the evening before going to bed, but just 5 minutes can change your life because you're just making that space for your thoughts. And that's when some of the questioning comes up. That's when some of your new goals or dreams come up because you're giving yourself that space for those thoughts to come. So sometimes people do this also like while driving. So driving is so basically so silence
Yes.
is really important. Yeah. So you could do it while driving, just no music, whatever, but just like giving yourself space or whatever that looks like to you. Maybe you're running, maybe you're walking, maybe you're cooking or whatever, but just giving yourself silence and allowing yourself to feel to think about what's coming up, and to lean into that.
Yes, yes, thank you. All right,
Pleasure.
and for all the listeners, what's one thing you want them to take away from this that's going to help them trust themselves enough to make moves that they need to make?
No matter what you do, you're not wrong. Like nothing is wrong. Like you're at the perfect place right now, even if it feels like it's not, even if it feels like, oh my God, this is the worst place I've been in. Like I feel so stuck. I feel miserable. Everything is good. By you feeling that way and you feeling stuck and you just feeling that period, that's good because that's showing you that you're ready for something new. So everything is good. So just take that from this episode that everything is good. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is bad. You're at the right place at the right time, and you're going to continue growing and progressing and evolving from your life experiences and journey.
Thank you so much. I feel like this is exactly what the women need to hear. And I know they're going to take so much from this episode. So, where can people find you and how can they work with you?
So I'm the most active in Instagram. So it's siempre siempre dot evolving, and on TikTok, same handle on TikTok. I just started going on there too, but I'm currently
And you're
accepting
killing it.
clients. Yeah. I'm working on it now. Yeah, I stepped into that identity. No, just kidding. But I am currently accepting clients. We worked together for 4 months. So you could find the link to work together on either TikTok or Instagram.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Cande. Like, this was
You're
such a
welcome.
great conversation. And I
Thank you
know
for
so
having
many
me.
women are going to get so much from this.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed being here and good luck with everything. Good luck with your podcast. I hope it grows so much.
I hope you got exactly what you needed from this episode and that at least one thing clicked. One shift, one conversation, one thing you could actually try this week. And if you're listening and thinking, okay, but how do I apply this to my situation? That's where I come in. I work one-on-one with ambitious women of color who want to grow in their career, get promoted, negotiate more money, or make the next move without burning themselves out or losing their peace. We get clear on the strategy, work through what's really getting in the way, and build a success that actually fits your life. If this episode resonated and you want support, you can find me at jessicalynn-wellness.com or DM me on Instagram at jessicalynn-wellness. We'll chat about how I can help you thrive in your career and in your whole life. And if you know another ambitious woman of color who needs the conversation, share this episode with her. If you loved this episode or the podcast, leaving a quick rating or review helps more women find this space, and I appreciate it more than you know. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. You don't have to choose between the career and the life. You get to have both, and we're building that together. I'll see you next week. Vámonos.